WTIM.
Good morning. You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and our morning show. It's brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining us in this segment, we've got Monica Nyman. Monica is a senior nutrition educator and registered dietitian with the St. Louis Dairy Council. Monica, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us here today to talk to us about how we maybe can mix the holiday season with some more nutritional benefits from dairy products, particularly cheese, is a lot of what we want to talk about today. And the first thing we want to do is just kind of talk about how cheese is made. And so, Monica, I leave the floor to you. How is cheese made?
All right. Well, cheese is a really old food. It was created about 8,000 years ago, and it's been in America since the early 17th century, which I find fascinating. And all cheese is made from milk, but different manufacturing and then the different ways that they age cheese can give it a different flavor. So cheese it's pretty simple. It's made by curdling milk. So we've kind of heard that word curdle. It kind of sounds like a weird word, but it basically just separates that milk into kind of the curdles and then the liquid part. They drain that off. That's called whey. And they collect that curd and they press it together. And in some cases, they ripen it at that point. So they can add different flavors to the curd and just really change the taste of the flavor of the cheese. So it does take about 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of whole milk cheese. So quite a lot of milk production does go into cheese processing. And I have a little statistic for you. The average American consumes about 39 pounds of cheese each year. But if you think about it, I know for myself, I really like cheese. I like all flavors of cheese, but I like casseroles with cheese on it. We eat tacos with cheese. We have soups that we add cheese to. We love pizza. And so a lot of our kind of comfort recipes or even just family recipes that you make on a weekly basis, you can always add cheese to those.
Even salads these days.
Salads, yeah. I mean, we could probably go on for a half an hour of all the different foods that people put different types of cheese on.
But my goodness, Monica, so 39 pounds of cheese per year is the average American consumption there. And it takes about 10 pounds of milk to actually just make 1 pound of cheese. So by my count there, about 390 pounds of milk is required for each American or the average American in terms of their consumption of cheese. Does that number kind of blow you away a little bit? Or is that like, you think about it and you go, hey, my casserole's got cheese and my tacos have cheese. Everything has cheese.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really sat down and thought about the math, but I love that you that you pointed that out. So, but yeah, I mean, if you go to the grocery store today, and even some of our larger grocery stores, there's a whole entire cheese section with cheese gurus. Those are called cheesemongers, people that specialize just in cheese. They can tell you the ins and outs of everything. I sort of admire that position at those big grocery stores. But so, yeah, we eat a lot of cheese is the point.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And then to know that, 8,000 years ago, cheese was already on the menu, but I got to imagine it probably wasn't quite the cheese that we have today or quite as tasty. But I do have to imagine it was probably something that came out of necessity and then turned out to be pretty dang good. What about health benefits of cheese? We talk about dairy products and the health benefits that are provided there, but what about cheese in particular?
Yeah, so because it's made with milk, of course, and if you've heard me on the radio before, you've heard me talk about the protein in dairy and the calcium in dairy. Those are probably the two most common nutrients that are in dairy foods. But protein in cheese can help fill you up and keep you satisfied. And so it basically just takes a little bit longer to digest. And so that food is kind of sitting a little bit longer. The serving of cheese is 1.5 ounces. And that number doesn't really mean a lot, but if you have a scale at home, you can weigh it. It's about 2 string cheeses or a couple slices of cheese. And depending on what kind it is, it can have anywhere from about 6 to 11 grams of protein, depending on, again, the variety of cheese that you're purchasing. But if it has a food label, you can flip that over and just take a look at it. So for people who are trying to increase their protein grams, cheese is a great option. Like all dairy products, it also has phosphorus and zinc and vitamin B12. We talk a lot about the nutrition that comes from the dairy foods, and cheese is no exception. So it can definitely help you reach your protein goals, get that calcium in. A lot of people are missing out on their recommended amount of calcium per day, so it can help fill that gap. And I'm a mom, I'm a dietitian. I always tell parents, if you have to put some cheese on vegetables to make them taste better, or on whole grains and things to get your kids to eat them, it's okay to do that because they're still getting all of the benefits from the cheese plus all of the benefits from the vegetables. I remember as a kid, my mom would make kind of a broccoli cauliflower, like a frozen bag, and she would put cheese sauce in it. I mean, it was just so much better when it had cheese on it. And then one thing that a lot of people don't know about, I did not know about this until I started working for the St. Louis Dairy Council, but cheese is actually a great option for your teeth. So it has all those vitamins and minerals in it, which can strengthen your teeth and your bones, but it also helps balance out the pH in your mouth. And that means less harmful acid. It helps provide a little bit more cleansing saliva, and then as a result, fewer cavities. So that's like if you eat cheese after your meal, if you're not able to brush your teeth. So I find that kind of fascinating. And then finally, sometimes it gets a bad reputation for fat content, but in Americans' diet, it really only accounts for about 9%. We're getting fat from a lot of other things. I'll just say fast food, end of story, anything fried. So cheese is not really providing that much fat in our diet as much as sometimes people think.
Well, and I think right now you're giving a lot of ammunition to folks that are cheese lovers out there. Like, hey, I'm nutritionally benefiting myself. I'm actually helping my teeth right now with all this cheese. So I think folks are probably enjoying that. And you mentioned the different kinds and kind of the varieties, and 6 to 11 grams of protein, maybe depending on them. But can you tell us a little more about the different varieties?
Yeah. So when you are taking a look at that big cheese, shop at the grocery store, there's kind of separated actually into their different categories. And so blue veined, people know what that is. It has a really pungent smell. Blue cheese is an example of that. You do not eat that with slices on crackers. My husband learned that the hard way. Okay, that's a sprinkle across something, put it on a salad, put it on a casserole. Hard cheeses, I use the example of the really hard to cut slices. So like Parmesan, you typically shred that. Semi-hard is just a firmer texture. Colby, cheddar, Gouda, those are examples of semi-hard. The pasta filata, those are kind of ones that stretch. So if you've ever made mozzarella cheese, you know that there's a stretching process to that. String cheese that we buy at the stores is an example of that. I do want to mention processed cheese. We kind of call that a cheese food. And so it has some extra ingredients in it, like emulsifiers, and that helps it melt better. And so if you think about like an American cheese slice or even the processed cheeses that are in the jars, those are examples of like cheese food or a processed cheese. Fresh soft cheese, we've talked before about cottage cheese. That's an example of that cream cheese. Cottage cheese is still selling super, super fast. People are using that in a lot of recipes. It has a ton of protein in it, so it's still in the dairy category, is continuing to rise in sales. And then the last two options, my favorite are the semi-soft. I love Havarti cheese. I love Munster cheese. They have a very soft taste to them. And then the soft ripened, the example for that would be brie cheese. It has kind of a rind on it, and that is edible. It looks kind of strange, and it has a different kind of texture to it, but you are able to eat it. And those are good for baking. So you can put some nuts and some apple butter on top of it, wrap it in a puff pastry, and then it comes out of the oven and it's ooey gooey and has lots of flavors that can be added to it. So those are the different kinds of cheese categories. All cheeses fit into one of those categories.
Okay, so all cheeses can fit into one of the 8 categories. I don't know. I kind of lean the way maybe of the semi-hard, not a process. I just can't do the American cheese. I cannot do it. I don't know what that is. And I do love cottage cheese and Monterey Jack, Colby Jack, things like that. So I'm a cheese guy myself, but I did not know 8 categories kind of fit all types of cheeses there. So that is interesting to kind of note there as well. And before we take our first break here, Monica, I do want to ask you, what about the best ways to store cheese? Obviously it's pretty easy to store, but what would you recommend?
Sure. So the thing about cheese is that it can easily absorb other flavors. And so you don't want to put it next to something that has a lot of smell in it in the refrigerator. And you want to refrigerate cheese, of course, between 34 and 38 degrees. They lose flavor and moisture when they're exposed to air. So make sure that you wrap them first. You can put like wax paper over it or plastic wrap. I put them then in like a Ziploc bag to be able to keep them fresh and to not absorb other flavors. And then all the different cheeses have a little bit of a different time frame. They don't usually last that long at my house, but anywhere between like 7 and really 14 days or so. Just make sure that you check that before you're going to put it in a recipe if it has been in the refrigerator longer than that.
Okay, I was going to say a bag of cheese cubes for me by myself doesn't last too long, so I can imagine on the family end, it's probably the same way. So that is a look at how to store it, the different categories, and the nutritional benefits of cheese itself, and even how cheese is made over the course of 8,000 years of history now. So we're speaking with Monica Nyman, Senior Nutrition Educator and Registered Dietitian with the St. Louis Dairy Council. We're talking holiday season and cheese. We've got some recipes that we'd like to share as well with you and some more when we return. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
Your information station. WTIM.
Since 1930, First National Bank has been helping farmers grow their operations and weather uncertain times. Hi, this is Julie Nodal, Ag Lender for First National Bank. Whether you need an operating loan, equipment loan, or help with a farmland purchase, we are here to be your partner for the long haul and future generations. We have firsthand knowledge of farming and understand its challenges. With flexible options to fit your operation and 5 locations to serve you, turn to First National Bank, the quality bank. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Mr. Farmer, thanks for taking a moment to listen to my message. I'm Jason Wright, owner of J&J Fencing based in Greenville. Thanks to farmers across the state, we're the #1 fence builder in Illinois. We build barbed wire, woven wire, electric, and board fence. We drive our posts into the ground with a hydraulic post driver. We can drive steel pipe, wood posts, and T-posts. Folks sleep better at night knowing their livestock is contained. Would appreciate your business. Jason Wright, J&J Fencing, Greenville. Find us on Facebook.
Taylorville Care Center's personalized therapy program helps you get back to enjoying the season, whether it's holiday gatherings, winter walks with the grandkids, or cheering on your favorite team indoors. We'll help you stay active and independent. You'll receive great medical care and the therapy you need to get moving again. If you've been in the hospital or just need a little boost, call Taylorville Care Center at 824-9636, 824-9636. Taylorville Care Center, caring for our community for over 50 years.
Managing your farm operations is complex, right? So is finding the right insurance to protect it. But it doesn't have to be. That's why you need me, Nicole Patrick, and Country Financial. As a farm certified representative, I have the expertise to provide you with the custom protection your farm needs. We've been protecting farms for more than 100 years, and we can protect yours too. Call me at 217-287-2332 to get a quote or book an appointment from Illinois' leading farm insurer.
Farm policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Why are more people heating their homes with FS Propane? Because it's better to work with a company that lives and works in the same community that you do. Hi, this is Nathan Rogers with Central Commodity FS. And when it comes to the comfort and safety of your family, you can trust FS Propane. We have highly trained service professionals who regularly monitor your system for proper operation, safety, and maximum efficiency. With FS Propane, you can be sure that your family will keep warm all season long. FS Propane feels like home.
Brenda Elder here, the Executive Director of the Shelby County Economic Development Corporation. From growing your business to attracting new investment, we're here to help. Find out more by clicking our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
If you're dreading the leaf raking and snow shoveling, Hickory Point Garden Homes in Forsyth is half the cost of most independent living options and maintenance free. Find out more by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
And welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show here on your information station and brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. Monica Nyman, Senior Nutrition Educator and Registered Dietitian with the St. Louis Dairy Council, joins us here on the show. And we're talking all about cheese and how the best ways of serving it might be this holiday season. That's where we pick up things now. And Monica, what might you say about some of the best ways to serve cheese?
Well, one trick is to bring your cheese to room temperature before you serve it. And that actually brings out the unique aromas and the texture, and it enhances the flavor. You'll be surprised. So don't pull it out of the refrigerator cold and serve it. Let it sit to be room temperature before you serve it to your guests. And then when you're plating it, you can cut it in slices or wedges. Really, you can't mess up a cheese tray. So I always recommend a couple different varieties out of those categories that we talked about earlier. Put some crackers on there, nuts, fresh fruits and vegetables, olives, different kinds of jam, or some of that like charcuterie meat. You can roll up some pepperonis or little ham slices. You can't mess it up. Whatever foods you like, your guests are going to love it.
I was going to say, yeah, it's hard to go wrong with a charcuterie board or something along those lines. So a cheese tray filled with crackers or nuts or fresh fruit, as you mentioned, it's pretty hard to go wrong with serving cheese, I feel like. But the room temperature part, a little interesting there. I mentioned like bringing out the aromas and the true texture. I find that a little interesting. Did not know about that portion of it. So I take that away from it. And what about some other ways to enjoy cheese that you think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, we kind of opened with a few ideas, but you can add it always to your sandwiches, on top of your salads, in wraps or panini sandwiches, melt it into soups or top your casseroles with cheese, make it into a creamy fondue dip, which is just basically melted cheese. And then I always like to add shredded cheese or a slice of cheese to an egg sandwich or different types of eggs that you make. And so it just, again, adds protein, adds calcium, and gives your eggs a little bit of flavor.
I think only way probably to have eggs, in my opinion. But hey, finally for you, Monica, there's always going to be, how do I stay healthier during this holiday season? I'm trying to stick to a goal or a regiment. I'm trying to be routine with it. But how do I do so? What about some tips that you might have for this holiday season?
Sure. So first one is to always start your day with breakfast. Try not to skip meals. That's not going to really save you calories throughout the day. Make sure that you are choosing those high protein foods to keep you satisfied and full. Again, the dairy foods like milk, cheese, and yogurt are always going to be a great option for that. A variety of food. Make sure you're getting your fruits and vegetables in, especially we need kind of all of the vitamin C and all the different vitamins and minerals to stay healthy and kind of offset some of those illnesses that are out there. And then try to get some physical activity, and that's going to help release a little bit of holiday stress that some of you may be feeling, and also offset some of those extra calories that you might be getting in from the treats that people are bringing to you.
Well, as somebody who hasn't bought gifts yet, I'm starting to get a little bit of holiday stress myself.
Yeah, I bet.
And Monica, we've got just under a minute to go here. I'm wondering, what about some recipes and ways to find some other recipes through your website and what you can tell us?
Sure. So we're featuring a holiday cheese ball, and that recipe is on our website. And then I also wanted to mention a couple of holiday recipes. We have a snowman cheese stick and a reindeer cheese wedge. These are really cute that you can make with your kids, read a holiday story, watch a holiday movie, sing some songs, get them in the kitchen cooking. All of that is found on our website, which is stldairycouncil.org.
Well, Monica, thank you so much for joining us here, as you always do.
You are so welcome. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you, Monica. You're listening to WTIM, your information station. This interview with Monica Nyman, senior nutrition educator and registered dietitian with the St. Louis Dairy Council. More of the morning show on its way here on your information station.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville. 96.1 FM Taylorville. 107.5 FM Shelbyville. 107.9 FM Pena Nokomis.
In Pennsylvania's Poconos, President Skewer Democrats are blaming him